Yes.
So we're going to look a bit deeper into the teachings of the Ascended Masters. This presentation involves three very specific teachings. First one is the four pillars. The second one is Phohatic keys. And the third one is the Pearl Call. This material has been assembled by myself, Michael Seegers, from dictations and lectures of the Ascended Masters, which are published by Summit Lighthouse. The source of the four pillars teaching is the sacred ritual for the creation of the cloud. Originally released in 1982, this was a 2-cassette album with a booklet 8.5 by 5 inches with a purple cover. And this is the booklet. And we can see page 4 of the booklet, the instruction from Mother. If you are new to the teachings of the Ascended Masters, or you are teaching students who are new, begin with beloved Kathumi's book on the human aura and Alchemy 1, and then proceed with Alchemy 2, and then go to Aura 2. These 4 books are pillars, foundations for the fourfold path of the Rose Cross that later is to be read in the Pearls of Wisdom from Sana Kumara. If you are going to teach these books, you must exercise daily with their formulas. It is most necessary to have this exercise so that when you present the teaching, you are the example, the living teaching itself. Now, this is the original booklet from 1982, and I can tell you this teaching does not exist anywhere else. It is not in any of the Pearls of Wisdom. It is not in any Keeper of the Flame lessons. This one paragraph is the only place where this teaching is given, to my knowledge. And that is why I believe that nobody heard about it before, because I spoke to many of the ministers and they told me they'd not heard this. Now, if you buy the CD today with the booklet, you will get this paragraph in the text after section 1, the presentation of souls unto the victory of love. And if you buy the PDF of the booklet, this paragraph is on page 8 of the 60-page PDF. You will not get the audio files of the instruction from Mother. To get these, you must download from Ascended Masters Library. So it's extraordinary that more focus was not placed upon this, in my opinion, but at least we have it here today, and we're going to go into great detail to make it very clear for you. The path of the Rose Cross, illustrated on the cosmic clock, the 4 arms, the 1-7, the 4-10 axis, are the pink ray arms of the clock, and that is the Rose Cross. Now, the 4 pillars in 1982 covers look like this. And today, they look like this. And so when we look at the Human Aura book by Kuthumi and Dwell Kul, what we have is the first pillar, Studies of the Aura, and the 4th pillar, Intermediate Studies of the Aura. When we look at Saint Germain on Alchemy, there are actually 4 books in here. The 2nd and 3rd pillars are in there. And the individual books, you can see book 1, Studies in Alchemy, book 2, Intermediate Studies in Alchemy. So these 2 would be the 2nd and 3rd pillar. Book 3, Trilogy on the Threefold Flame, and book 4, Alchemy of the Word, are supplemental to, but not part of the 4 pillars. And what we've done, since all the information in these books are dictations that were given, and they're published in Pearls of Wisdom, we've assembled them all in one place on a website, humanaura.org. And you can read them all chapter by chapter. Some of them we have audio files that are narrated. We have a brief explanation of the Phohatic keys, and we have the Pearl Call on there. So everything is included in the website, humanaura.org. Now, what I did here was I summarized each book into a single phrase. This made it very easy to see that the 4 books all sit clearly in the 4 quadrants of the cosmic clock. Notice that we are talking about light. These books are the foundation to understanding and properly working with the light, which is the source of all life. These books are the required curriculum to achieving maximum success with the teachings of the Ascended Masters. And we see in the etheric quadrant, the 1st pillar. And I've boiled down that book to one phrase: I am light. Kuthumi is reminding us that we are light. That's the memory body. That's the etheric quadrant. And we're all familiar with song number 1, I Am Light. It's Kuthumi mantra. It's his decree. It's his gorgeous music. The second pillar, studies in alchemy, I placed in the mental quadrant. It's activating the mind, learning the science of light. That's what that book is all about. It teaches the science of light. In the third quadrant, the emotional quadrant, we have intermediate studies in alchemy. And when you study this book, you'll discover that the main theme of the book is learning about the creation of the cloud. And the exercises involved to create the cloud involve not just visualization, but very strongly, we're encouraged to feel the cloud that we're creating. And that's obviously the emotional quadrant, the feeling quadrant. And then the fourth pillar, integrate the light, dwell cool, teaching us the sacred fire breath and teaching us his breathing exercise, is teaching us to integrate the light, bring it into manifestation in the physical quadrant, in the physical body, and he explains to us how the breathing exercise with the alternate nostril pranayama exercise actually is for the balancing of the 4 lower bodies. This is the study of light. And when we look at beloved Surya's dictation, we see very clearly he is telling us, apply thyself to the study of light. Light is the science that you must learn. And this is the study of light. It is the 4 pillars. Now, why is this so important? Well, in Mother's own words, the introduction of light and the initiation of light and the stepping up of individuals to carry more light could be said to be the actual purpose for this organization, our messengership and your chielership, because this is what is necessary for your ascension and for the planet itself to enter the golden age. Now, in lectures from Summit University, Mother was teaching the studies of the aura, and in track 2 of the lectures, in the introduction to the study at the 8-minute mark, we have Mother explaining the purpose of the study of the aura.
The whole point of the study of the Human Aura series by Kuthumi is to show you that your aura is a force field that God can use. That really your aura is God. That your aura is a giant egg that you live in. It's your cosmos. Like the little boy that is born without white blood cells and he has to live in a plastic container and breathe only purified air. That plastic container that he's lived in for 2 years is his aura. It's his field. And that's as far as he will ever go in this life, unless he is healed. And your aura is your receptacle. And unless that aura is clean and sparkling and crystal clear, everything you know and all the sweet talk is not going to count 1 iota on the cosmic scale. And when cosmic councils look at the map of the cosmos to see where is the light matrix, where is the individual that is carrying a flame, they see a screen of the whole cosmos. They can look down in one glance and identify the light bearers by the reading of the aura. On every planet, on every system of world, it's there, right there, clear. And they have instruments where they can zero in on a certain planet or a certain space and widen it again. And therefore, the sons and daughters of God who are evolving, who are increasing, are known. You are known by cosmic councils, your names are written. And when you increase that aura, instantly the blip appears on that screen. And they say, aha, there's someone with a more than ordinary desire to be God. They don't even listen to the babble of human conversation. They're not interested in all of that nonsense. They're interested in action, because action is what shows up on the aura as a definite mark of potential. Everything else shows up on the aura too, but that's all screened out, because cosmic councils who are determining the fate of the planet are not interested in anything but those who are actors on the stage of life.
If you have been in the teachings of the masters for any length of time and you have not studied these books and worked with their formulas, you have no idea what you're missing out on. What is this light we speak of? Light is self-luminous, intelligent substance.
Light is self-luminous, intelligent substance. Light is God. Light is Inco. Light, therefore, knows how to fulfill the command. It is not electricity. It is light with a capital. Self-luminous, intelligent substance.
Light radiation from the masters is physical. We got a hot contact, and this is a very interesting story. We had a gentleman who I would see at trade shows probably once a year, who was a student of the St. Germain Foundation. He'd been in the IM teachings for probably 40 years. And we would have wonderful conversations. And one time he said he'd love to attend our classes. And he came on a Saturday night. And at the end of the class, he said to me, "I think you have a hot contact." And I said, "What do you mean by that, George?" He said, "Some groups actually get a hot contact." And that was all he said. And a few months later, in our final class of the year, when I was giving a teaching about Sanat Kumara and his mission coming here from Venus, halfway through the reading, suddenly I felt a heat wave as if I was in a sauna. And my face turned red and I was just really, really warm. And when I completed the reading, I mentioned it to the class, and a gentleman stood up. He said, "It wasn't just you, Michael. We all felt it. It was like the whole room went up more than 10 degrees. And then I understood what George was talking about with the hot contact. He had said he could actually feel the radiation of the masters. And on this particular occasion, everybody in the class could feel that heat radiation. Now, Mark Prophet, in his discourses on cosmic law, spoke on one occasion about how that radiation is so physical it actually tans his skin. Listen to him talk about it.
It's so powerful, so radiant that it shines through the mask. Now, I'll give you some illustration of this. I'll relate it to my personal self and some of the boys who have traveled with me. We often go in a closed car, and we don't even step out sometimes to get hardly a drop of sunlight. I came as white as could be over to this conference, but did you know that I tan from the radiation? I tan when the master speaks through me. I've been known to get a tan so deep that I look like as if I've been down in Mexico. That's putting on the mask, I guess. But this is true. I get an actual tan, and some of the boys that have been with me in the car, traveling, or however we travel, they have also gotten a tan as the master's radiation poured through. And perfectly natural. Radiation will tan you. The sun will tan you, you see. It's the sun of the master's presence that is coming through.
Now we're going to go a little deeper into what dictations contain. Quoting St. Germain here, "I give you the spool on which is wound that golden wire, that golden energy field that records the spoken word, and upon it is also recorded a very specific dictation directed to you personally and to your soul directly from my heart. This is real, beloved ones, for I have written and I have spoken to each and every one of your souls on another track, even as I have been speaking through this messenger to you." Well, it turns out there can actually be as many as 40 tracks in a dictation.
Hi, I'm Stephen Webb, Director of Publishing for the Summit Lighthouse. When we're talking about pearls of wisdom, we're talking about reading, right? Not so fast. Right around the time the first pearls were being printed in 1959, Almoria explained what was going on when you sit back with a pearl. Listen to this and think about the percentages. Almoria, 1959. Only about 10% of the blessings received from the service of the pearls is in the reading thereof. While your attention is upon our words, we are flooding light's perfection from our worlds into yours. By your rhythmic and faithful attention to us and our words, you make yourselves open doors and channels for our light and assistance to flow, not only to, but through you, into the worlds of those around you. Ever present when you want me, and so able and lovingly willing to be a most practical friend in everyday living, I am the Ascended Master, Moria El. So think about the other 90% of the blessings that are happening while you think you're just reading. About 12 years after El Moria's observation, Mark Prophet added to the mystery around pearls, saying that in every pearl, there's between 7 and 40 different tracks or levels of comprehension, all between the lines. He said, these 40 tracks I'm talking about are the kind that when you read the Pearl of Wisdom on Monday, put it down, pick it up on Tuesday, and read that Pearl of Wisdom the second time. You see all kinds of things that you never saw with the first reading. Then you pick it up on the next day, and the same thing happens. And in the course of your life, if you were to read it 40 times, you would find about 40 tracks of ideas and hidden concepts that were right there, and they could be understood by you as you develop.
Very interesting. Now, the release of light. Most of you probably know this. The Ascended Masters teach that each time the audio or video recording of a dictation is played, the light of the Master's original dictation is re-released. Diving deeper into the science of light, light is self-luminous, intelligent substance. Light is the energy of source. Light is the infinite potential of God. Light may contain Pohadic keys. Now, you remember I said we're going to have 3 very specific teachings. You've now seen the 4 pillars, and we're going to introduce the second teaching, the Pohadic keys. In this picture, we see symbols in the background. Saint Germain has told us that these symbols are Pohadic keys. He talks about how he uses them in his retreat, the Cave of Symbols. These particular ones are in Atlantean script. Now, I have studied the subject of Fohat intensely. First, I did a keyword search in the Pearls of Wisdom, and I studied every dictation which mentions the word Fohat or Pohadic key. Then I went to the books by El Moria, which are published by the Agni Yoga Society. I have all the volumes in PDF format. So I did a word search in all of them the same way, and I studied every reference to Fohat. Then I went to my Theosophical library with more than 100 volumes, and I did the very same thing. At this point, I have a bit of an understanding of Fohat and what the masters are able to do with it when they create Fohatic keys. And I've done my best to summarize this for you in this presentation.
And for this purpose, it's very important to take short mantras and enter them with that intensity of fire. For instance, light, manifest, light, manifest, light, manifest. What I am doing when I am giving this is using the Fohatic key of my voice, or shall I say the key of my voice, to release the Fohat. I am seeing it, I am knowing it, I am giving the fiat, I am sending tremendous love to this light. I am absolutely in love with the light, and I have no other love. The light knows this. I give my life and my body to the light, and I know this light is manifest when I make that fiat.
Now we have an extraordinary example of Fohat. This is also from Mark Prophet's Discourses on Cosmic Law. And he tells a story about the dictation by Shananda and what happened.
I'd like to have you interrupt my lecture long enough to tell what happened to that woman, because I think it's very, very important.
We paid and there were 16 people present,
the tape by Shananda, the words in gold letters were at the height of the eye, about the height of my eye. And she was reading 3 or 4 words in advance of each word, which came off the tape recorder.
Thank you, Paul O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill is on the Board of Governors of the Theosophical Society of America, and he's a man who has spent most of his life in examining esoteric matters, and he has the most magnificent understanding of these things. And he's a good friend and a true friend of life. He's here together with his wife, Patricia, and we are delighted to have them with us. And I felt that this testimony along the line of communications with the masters might be of some benefit to you, for he asked me this question. He said, how did you get that particular dictation? Well, you see, that dictation was almost what is called ex cathedra, or out of the mouth of God. In some of the dictations, my vocal cords are literally taken over by the master. This was one of the most potent manifestations of dictation.
Now, Guy Ballard spoke about this in the early days. He said that when Saint Germain stood in his living room giving a dictation, you could see the words in the air in characters of living fire, and you could read them. Here we have a clairvoyant lady reading the words in the air before they're even spoken on the tape recorder. What an extraordinary example of Fohai. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into what the masters consider when they're preparing dictations and when they're creating Fohadic keys. And I'm going to introduce you to the mind of Shananda. A couple of paragraphs from the dictation. He says, you would be surprised to see how elaborately El Morya has prepared charts and graphs, and how he has put together from the cosmic computer statistics on mankind, on every government of every nation, on the flow of supply and on the demand for that supply. And we reviewed this night the buildup of arms, the war. We must analyze Terra from the level of the etheric blueprint locked in the white fire core of the souls of mankind, and from the collective subconscious and the individual subconscious records, which will also come to the fore by the cycles of cosmic law, which are unalterable, patterns and energies and force fields, which will be dealt with. And we have studied the astrology of this year, the remainder of the 70s, the 80s, and under the year 2001. We have looked at the influences of the karma of other planets and the life waves of other systems of worlds. We have studied the weight of karma and how it interacts between planetary bodies and between neighbors. And after all of this study and analysis, we have yet to draw conclusions that will affect our petitions made before the lords of karma. We look to those who are willing to carry light. Now, Shananda continues, do not neglect the patterns of the past, 500,000, 700,000, 900,000 years of incarnations. He says, your patterns are as clay tablets. In this very moment, he tells us, I am capable of reading simultaneously all of these clay discs of all of the life waves of Terra, and of reading simultaneously all of these tablets for each individual life stream of hundreds of thousands of years. And I'm going to suggest if Shananda can do it, El Morya can do it, Saint Germain can do it. This is incredible that they could read thousands of life records of billions of souls all at once. All at once. So how do you explain this? Saint Germain tells us that the masters sometimes spend as long as what amount to 12 years of earthly time to produce a dictation that will last 30 or 40 minutes. Something doesn't make sense here.
It is a manifestation of great cosmic strength and cosmic wisdom. We sometimes spend in the spiritual realm as long as what amounts to 12 years of your time producing a speech that will last 30 or 40 minutes.
This little piece of information is the clue that lit me on fire a number of years ago to dig into this research, because I just couldn't comprehend they would need 12 years to make a dictation. How is it possible such immensely intelligent beings require 12 years of earth time to produce a 30-minute dictation? Ponder this with me for a minute. We know that the masters have computers far surpassing what we have. We know they have access to the mind of God. What about the Elohim and the cosmic beings? How far beyond our understanding is their ability? And yet they sit in council outside of time and space, spending the equivalent of 12 years of our time to produce a single half-hour dictation. A dictation is more than information. The radiation of the masters is living light, self-luminous, intelligent substance. And what are the masters putting into the dictations? Phohatic keys. Millions of phohatic keys, specifically designed for all of the students that will either hear the dictation or read the pearl. An immense task. Sanat Kumara tells us here that is the purpose of the dictation.
This is an era when light is oncoming. It is the era when the flame of Mu must rise. Compelled by the call to light of cosmic law. This is an era for the raising of the consciousness of the mother flame in the seven rays. We come then for one purpose, and that purpose is to anchor certain phohatic keys in the form of electrodes for the spiraling, rising energies of the seven rays in seven aspects of the mother flame.
Anchoring phohatic keys, I would think, for at least 1 million souls. And Mother Mary informs us that they know 2,000 years in advance who will hear the dictation.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, I, Mary, send this flame to the heart of Alpha, in the name of Omega, bearing the record of all life streams, who now hear my word, who are seated in this company, and all who will ever hear my word on electronic tape, so that you may have a peep into the insides of heaven. I will tell you that it is already foreknown and foreordained as to every life stream who shall and will hear this dictation throughout this 2,000-year dispensation. Beloved ones, this is not predestination. This is the calculus of free will. I seal you in the mystery of your destiny.
Now, El Morya tells us that there's a blueprint in every dictation. He says, study the text of my message and call for its inner blueprint to be anchored in your etheric body until the particular forget-me-not message for your life stream, hidden in the very blueprint of my dictation, is fulfilled and does come to pass as fruition of the first ray in your life. This is an important instruction. He's telling us there's a blueprint for us. He's also telling us that we have to call for it to be anchored in our etheric body. Continuing, El Morya says, I release keys that shall unlock in you a light and an integration when you yourself raise your vibration in the fervor of your love to that point that the key may be unlocked for you. And Saint Germain tells us, we have had a 25-year mission and more with these messengers. I could not give it to you all in one dictation, but I can place it in a capsule of light, as it were, with a time release. Saint Germain continues, we have clothed our words with the quality of ascended master light, and we have made them cups of light, cups of liquid light, so that our words are actually cups of light. And each word is endowed with a special spiritual quality, so that as it penetrates your consciousness, blessed ones, it enables you to find a greater measure of cosmic freedom. Now, Apollo and Lumina, speaking about Bija mantras, tell us as you recite the mantras in purest devotion, you begin to access the Pohatic keys that are locked into the formulas of the mantras. These keys release concentrated foci of light to the pure in heart. Pohatic keys are molecular formulas, and we'll let Moria tell us about that.
As we saw the challenge, and as we were taught by God in the Spirit, we knew that unflinching devotion to the will of God, the drawing within of energy to the diamond point of the self, the wielding of the sword of blue flame, and the mastery of the action of Pohatic keys would result in the victory. Pohatic keys, blessed ones, are molecular formula that are used for a particular release of the energies of the chakras. These energies, when coded in certain manifestations, can bring to pass in the matter plane any form of manifestation, any intensity of the 7 rays for a specific action or challenge.
And they can also be misused. The more instructs us, you will note that the black magicians have perverted these keys and set their perverted keys to music, played that rhythm and that music, and thereby caused enormous quantities of energy to be drained from the children of God. I'm beginning to think like an ascended master here. For you see, in addition to the worded release from every hierarch, every master that's ever been given through our messengership, there's the pattern of the inner light. The electronic presence of the master is speaking. And we're going to let Lynelle and Mother tell you a bit more about this.
If you will take these dictations, send for them when they are available, and play them, you will find that the inner keys, which hang, as it were, in the ethers upon the matrix of the spoken word, will be imparted to your soul through the Christ mind, and then will begin to penetrate your 4 lower bodies. For you see, in addition to the worded release from every hierarch and every master that has ever been given through our messengership, there is the pattern of the inner light, the electronic presence of the master who is speaking, a diagram of the science of each of the 7 rays, 7 levels of consciousness. There is an energy spiral in the spoken word that contacts each of the chakras with a different aspect of the Christ mind for each one.
And Saint Germain tells us, you should understand that the words we speak are rarities of the cosmos, flowers of the spirit, and the transmission of the higher octaves of our thoughts. So I want you to understand that even at our level of thought and feeling, this is a cosmic effort on behalf of humanity. Now, reading between the lines, alchemists of the sacred fire, that is what we are, ascended masters in training. Let us begin to think like one. Consider this. In a cosmic laboratory / library with computers of the mind of God containing the information for a given planetary body, coding sequences and Pohatic keys based on the genes of the cosmic Christ embodied in the light bearers of that planet, karmic records of the life waves of that planet, known interference programs and perverted Pohatic keys used by the black magicians, all possible astrological and cosmic clock cycles of the past, present, and future of that system of worlds, all persons known to be at some time a recipient of the transmission of light from the dictation. What Pohatic keys would you embed into the dictation as you prepare it for the Lords of Karma to approve for release into the world of form? What seeds of light would you prepare to plant in the fertile soil of the minds of the Chelas? How will you build the mandala of light for each conference? How will you give each soul the pattern it requires for its perfect unfoldment. Now we can begin to understand what Saint Germain was talking about when he said it may take up to 12 years of Earth time to produce a 30-minute dictation. Now we presented the first two concepts, the four pillars and the Poetic keys. The third concept that brings it all together is the pearl call. Believe it or not, with all that the masters have put into the dictations, you're not getting most of it. Let me explain. We heard Stephen Webb tell us only about 10% of the blessings received from the service of the pearls is in the reading thereof. While your attention is upon our words, we are flooding light's perfection from our worlds into yours. This is coming straight from El Morya. In El Morya's letter, May 28, 1976, in endnote number 2, we get this interesting paragraph. We will pass the flame of our higher consciousness through the density and debris of your lower consciousness. We will take in the energy of your microscopic consciousness to our heart's altar. We shall consume and transmute, and at the conclusion of this gathering, we shall return to you the purified substance, the original innocence that is your higher consciousness. My question, what is in the flame of the Master's higher consciousness? It's got to be Poetic keys. Now, when you give the pearl call, I believe that you receive so much more than just understanding. I believe you receive the Poetic keys to a much greater degree. Why do I say this? Let us look again at what Sana Kumara just told us a few minutes ago. We come for one purpose, to anchor Poetic keys. So El Morya gives some very important instruction here. He says, if you are forgetful and unmindful of the pyramid that you build, the pyramid on which you stand as an initiate, then you will go back to the first step. For you see, a mighty substructure must be beneath the one who would stand on the great pyramid and be the capstone for the world. Thus we are building. The 10th lesson does not replace the first. And if you neglect the first, your foundation will begin to crumble. Order, then, is the first law of heaven, as the first law of the path of initiation. Do not forget your first exercises or pieces that you have learned. These are foundation stones. So I'll repeat Mother's words here from the Creation of the Cloud booklet. If you are new to the teachings, or teaching students who are new, begin with Kathumi's book on the human aura, and then Alchemy 1, then proceed with Alchemy 2, and then go to Aura 2. And what is El Morya saying here? Don't forget your first exercises. Now, in the fourth pillar, chapter 8, the Sacred Fire Breath, Dwal Kul is telling us, understand then that by your application to the law that I've released in the first 7 of these studies, there is being builded within your aura a fiery coil of life. This is interesting. By your application of the law, by doing the exercises that are in the book, a coil of light is being built in your aura. This coil is approximately 10 inches in diameter. You ought now to visualize rising from the base of an imaginary sundial upon which you stand. Now, in the first pillar, in chapter 6, Kathumi tells us, see what the light can do from you. Try this exercise, simple though it may seem, and know that many ascended beings will be performing it with you. And this is a very important key. You're not doing the exercises alone. When you are reading these books and doing the exercises in them, masters and angels are actually doing them with you. A coil of light is being built in your aura by doing these exercises. And this is the visualization that is given in the color plates in that book. And when we do this visualization exercise, we are actually projecting the coil of light out of our mind through our third eye chakra into the world of form, where the angels assisting the elementals are building the pattern out of pure light essence around our form and producing an actual coil of spiritual light. Many people don't know that the third eye chakra is not just an organ of perception, it is also an organ of projection. It projects out into the world what you visualize. Now, we have an extraordinary photograph to share with you, an actual coil of light. This is Alice Bosco's coil of light. The photograph was taken, I think it was outside of a church in Minneapolis. About 6 years before her ascension, we see three friends standing with her, and there's Alice in the center, and she is completely enveloped in her coil of light. Have you overlooked these first key steps? Have you studied the four pillars? Have you exercised daily with their formulas? It is most necessary. The four pillars again on the cosmic clock. All kinds of blessings waiting to be discovered. I've read these books 20 to 30 times each. And when you think about what Mark Prophet said, that there could be anywhere from 7 to 40 tracks in the dictations, you don't just want to read these books, you want to really study them. So here's our blueprint for greater success. Learn and use this formula. Engage with the four pillars. Understand the importance of the Vohadic keys, and give the pearl calls after every single dictation that you hear and every pearl that you read. I give Saint Germain the final word on this.
Then you enter a path of discipline, and you follow the teachings I have given, and they are many through this activity alone. And each and every pearl and dictation, I tell you, contains such alchemical keys that if you could perceive how far you could advance on the path as becoming that alchemist, you would begin immediately. In fact, there would be a stampede to the door. And that is exactly what happens at inner levels when souls finally wake up and realize that their greatest desire is to study with me at the cave of symbols.
So in summary, there is a plan created by the masters. That plan has a divine blueprint. The plan begins with the four pillars. Every chapter of these books is a collection of dictations. These dictations contain Vohadic keys, seeds of light, which are uniquely programmed for each student who will hear or read the dictation. The books contain exercises which need to be done by the students. Angels and masters assist with the work, and using the various pearl calls unlocks the fullest potential of the dictations. Now you know, you've been told. Thank you for this opportunity to present the four pillars, the Vohadic keys, and the pearl call.